My name is Laura Engelhardt, and my story is about the night that my house almost burned down. And this just happened a couple of days ago. The night before my house almost burned down, I was doing my homework and I was listening as my husband was in the kitchen chopping onions. And he was chopping onions for a good 2.5 hours. Chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping. He was making soup. Now I usually... chop my onions in about 35 seconds. And so I was getting very frustrated doing my homework, listening to the chop, chop, chop of the chopping board, or the knife on the cutting board, chopping the onions. But I knew he was making soup. Pretty soon I heard the bacon go in, and I smelled the bacon go in, and I knew there were peas in there, and I was getting very excited. All the while I was frustrated, I was getting very excited because I knew the next day we would have soup for dinner. Got the children to bed, we all went to bed, and I knew that the soup was cooking on the stove, but it was my husband's project. He had spent 3 hours chopping onions for it. So I let him cook the soup. I went to bed. I knew that my husband was up. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I smelled something, and I thought, well, that's the soup cooking. That'll be really good for tomorrow. And I thought, maybe I should go and turn that off. And no, it's his project. He was chopping the onions, so he's going to be in charge of the soup. So I tried to go back to sleep, and then I just kept smelling that great aroma of the wonderful pea soup that we were going to have, pea soup and onions, that we were going to have the next day. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and it didn't smell so good anymore. So I went out to the kitchen and it was a little bit smoky. But this wasn't my project. So my husband was asleep on the couch snoring loudly, and I thought, I wonder if he smells that. I'm not going to worry about it. It's his project. He was chopping the onions. So I went back to sleep. About 6 o'clock in the morning, I got up to wake everyone up to go to school. Go to school, and I went out into the kitchen, what I thought was the kitchen, because I really couldn't tell because it was so smoky. And I went out there and it was so smoky, literally, I took a picture of it. You cannot see through, you couldn't see through the smoke. And I just looked in there very calmly, and I ran upstairs and I got all the children up. And what's that smell, Mom? What's the smell? It's burning. What's happening? The house is on fire. I said, no, it's your dad's soup. Finally, I woke up my husband. I said, why don't you go in the kitchen and have a look and see what's in there? How's your soup doing? My husband got up and went into the kitchen and opened the pan, and he said, oh, that's just steam. The house is filled with smoke. And he says, oh, no, that's just the steam from the soup. Meanwhile, the stove is covered with blackness from being burned. The soup is burned. The pan is black. There is smoke everywhere. It stinks to this day. 2 days later, it smells. My purse smells. Everything smells. The kids went to school smelling like smoke. And my husband... My husband said, oh, it's just the steam. It's just the steam. So I just left the area very calmly, and the kids came running out. And for some reason, our smoke alarms didn't go off, which is a little alarming, so check your smoke alarms. The kids came running out, and what we typically do when there's a little bit of smoke in the house is everyone grabs a broom, puts a towel over it, and starts to wave the broom to get the smoke alarms to go and to get the smoke all out. So the kids were running around the house, kind of half naked because they were getting ready for for school, waving brooms, trying to get all the smoke out. And my husband is standing staring at his soup, saying that it's just steam. I don't know how long he stood in front of that soup. So that's the story of my house that almost caught on fire. The end.